Good evening and welcome to Legacy After the Locker Room. I'm your host, Kayla Bradham, here tonight with Major League Soccer alumni, Amobi Okugo. Good evening, Amobi.
Good evening. How you doing today?
I am doing great, and I want to say thank you for joining us. Let's get right in. Tell us a little bit about soccer for Amobi in the Okugo household.
Thank you so much. Yeah, soccer is everything. Growing up a Nigerian American, first generation Nigerian American, soccer was our main sport. Growing up in the States, you have baseball, basketball, football, but for us it was soccer. And I don't want to say it was forced to play, but heavily, heavily encouraged because my parents grew up playing, or at least they said they did, and then my uncles and aunts played. So growing up, watching the Nigerian national team in the 94 World Cup, 96 Olympics, it was all set for me to, at least pursue soccer as, something as an extracurricular activity.
I love it. And that got you into Major League Soccer. Tell us a little bit about the teams you played for, your positions, and your leadership roles.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah, I was fortunate enough to develop and at a young age, which led me to opportunities, which eventually led me to go pro. Spent 12 years playing professionally across MLS and USL. Spent time with Philadelphia Union, Orlando City, Kansas City, Portland, and then closing my time with Austin. Um, it was an amazing experience. I played center mid, center back. Uh, I like to say I would play anywhere as long as it's on the field. And I was fortunate enough to be one of the youngest captains during my time at Philadelphia. Um, I was fortunate enough to be on, the player representation during CBA discussions and negotiations and different things like that. So I've always tried to take on a leadership role, and soccer was something that is given me so much. So it's only right that I take advantage of the resources and opportunity.
I love it. I got to tell you, Moby, that a couple weeks ago, I was blessed to finally be able to catch Megan Rapinoe in
Oh,
a game,
nice.
and that was one of my bucket list things to see her play before she retired. Just so much respect for the sport, and what a great opportunity. I'll tell you what I like about soccer.
I'm all
It's
ears.
it's just that it's an inexpensive sport. I live in Wisconsin, so I'm going to just compare it to a travel hockey team, right?
Hmm.
In soccer, you need some protective gear and a ball. And I know countries throughout the world. I've seen some of these pieces of equipment used in underserved countries,
Yeah.
and it really is a ball. It might be a homemade ball, so I think soccer is really an outlet for anybody to be able to play a sport. Question for you, Moby. A big debate going on right now. Multi-sport athletes, single sport athletes. Did you grow up playing any other sports besides soccer as a child?
I'm heavy on the multi-sport athlete. I was fortunate enough to play basketball and soccer as my main sports, but I also dabbled in football, volleyball. I did track for a week, so that doesn't really count. But yeah, I think all those sports correlate. It helps avoid burnout in your sport. It helps, have an appreciation for the sport that you kind of take a priority towards, and the synergy and crossover in terms of athletic ability for your sport. So volleyball helped me with my jumping ability, basketball helped me with my lateral movement, football helped me with other things like toughness and different things like that. It all translates over. And then also it expands your network. There's different people that play across different sports, different platforms, different, environments that I'm all for multi-sport, at least as long as you can until that one sport takes over. And then kind of go from there.
I love it. And, I think in addition to everything you said, which I agree with, I think it's so important just to keep sports fun for kids.
Exactly. That's the most
So
important thing.
huge. And for adults, right? All of
Yeah.
us older adults in rec leagues, keep it fun. Keep it fun.
Yeah.
So, Moby, you played professional soccer for a long time. A lot of the athletes that I speak with sort of feel lost as they transition out of professional sports, not really being certain of what their purpose is. What did transitioning out of professional soccer look like for you?
Yeah, it was an interesting experience because, and I love how you use the word transition, because for me, I think I had the mindset of understanding that the end was always going to come. So I was always prepared for it. But then when it happens, you're never really prepared. You have to get used to the routines and the rituals of not playing. I was so used to, all right, practice in the morning, chill in the afternoon, and now it's not that same schedule. And then like identity, a lot of times, athletes struggle with that identity. How do they identify themselves? Fortunately, I was doing stuff while I was currently playing, so it wasn't too much of a shift in saying, all right, I'm no longer a soccer player, but still those are things that you have to adjust to. So for me, I gave myself a little bit of a grace period to like, find time to really dive into some of the things that I want to do rather than just, all right, you're done playing, now you go to coaching, or you're done playing, now you do this. Like, no, I found passions that are outside of, let me not say outside of sport, but specific to my specific wants and needs and different things like that, and kind of go from there.
I love it. The other thing I want to talk about is concussions in soccer, because this is also coming up a lot lately. I'm so thankful for our legacy after the locker room community. I shared a couple of weeks ago that after my eighth concussion, I had a 3-day EEG done with a video. The
Hmm.
nurse who put all of my gear and everything on my head was a soccer player. And she explained that after 3 concussions, she stopped playing soccer and decided to dedicate her life to helping people with concussion injuries and effects. Any concussions for you as a player?
Yeah, so I was fortunate enough to walk away without any serious injuries, no concussions. Um, and like you said, concussions are a very serious matter, and it's unfortunate for anyone to have to stop their career. But I love how, the lady you mentioned, she used it as motivation and her purpose to help others. But yeah, it's really unfortunate because you see a lot of the effects from concussions that are both unreported and reported, and hopefully we can continue to find ways and assessments to combat the issues of concussions.
Yeah, so PSA parents, get that baseline testing done for your
Oh
children
yeah,
right at the beginning. Give them
yeah.
something to compare to. So here's what I'd like to do, if it's okay with you, Amobi.
No, no doubt.
Take a quick break to shout out our sponsor, and then let's talk about what you're doing now, helping athletes with your platform and your foundation. Is that okay with you?
Of course.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, folks, you know this is coming. Shout out to our sponsor, Dugout Mugs. Fun fact, 3 of my children are at the Milwaukee Brewers game right now as we record this. And who knows, they might come back with a Dugout Mug. But use code Kayla30 in the checkout, and that will save you 30%. Dugout Mugs, baseball season is finally here. Amobi, when you transitioned out, and we talked about that, carefully using the word transition, tell us a little bit about how you came up with the concept of a frugal athlete, if you don't mind. Oh, there we go. Welcome back, Amobi.
Oh no, thank you so much.
Thank you. So I was saying, as you transitioned out, tell us a little bit about how a frugal athlete sort of became a concept for you.
Yeah, so a frugal athlete, I started it while I was playing, but I was really motivated by the 30 for 30 broke documentary, where I saw, the story of athletes that unfortunately succumbed themselves to financial situations because of lack of financial literacy, bad spending habits, shady advisors, bad investments, whatever may have you. And I was looking to create an ecosystem or a platform where I could learn from athletes that were doing it the right way. Obviously, not every athlete's going to have the career like a LeBron James, Serena Williams, Tom Brady, Kobe Bryant, rest in peace. But I knew there was a way to highlight the stories of athletes that knew that they were going to have to work after they're done playing, but leverage their capital and their career to make that seamless transition. So I started a frugal athlete, kind of selfishly to find role models for myself, and then since then have built it out into its own kind of media platform, entity, business, what have you.
So, Moby, can we talk about that just a little bit further? Because I think there's another piece to it if we really dial down. When I was in Cleveland for the NBA All Star event, I was able to attend a diverse representation meeting through the NBA. Just this past week, I was in Atlanta at the Sports Lawyers Association Conference on Inclusion. Over and over, what we're finally starting to hear is that when it comes to financial advisors, when it comes to agents, representation matters.
Hmm.
I think it's really important to discuss how important it is for Black and brown skinned athletes to have professional advisors that look like them. Is that a statement that you agree with, Amobi?
Yeah, most definitely. And not only just that looks like them, but have been through the situations and can explain, terminology and experiences in layman's terms. A lot of times, any sort of advisor, doesn't matter what race, ethnicity, they have a tendency to use big jargon words to kind of showcase their expertise. But, for athletes specifically, if we know someone that's kind of been through the ropes, whether it's a former athlete turned lawyer, former athlete turned doctor, in your case, that is working on the concussion space, we can gravitate towards them just because they've been through it, they've lived it, they know how to explain certain scenarios in our layman's terms. But not say that we should only be working with people that have been former athletes, because there's very credible people in their space. But I think the biggest thing is the relatability, the trust, and the ability to kind of share the information in a way where we feel safe and comfortable with them. I think that's the biggest thing. So it doesn't really matter about race or ethnicity, but obviously there is a stronger inclination if someone that's looked like me, someone that's been in my footsteps, that I'm going to gravitate towards them.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your transparency when it comes to that. It's something that I think keeps getting brushed under the rug.
Hmm.
It's okay to want to work with people who have similar experiences. And
Yeah.
it can't be okay for white people to work with white people, but to misrepresent anybody else. So I appreciate that. I completely agree with you. I want to say thank you for being open. Tell us a little bit more, if you don't mind, just really deep dive us in. We have all these new things coming out: NIL,
Yeah.
blockchain, NFT. I'm so concerned as a mom, as a parent, and in the sports philanthropy space, that it's really easy to be a predator, especially to younger athletes, throwing out things like blockchain, talking about NFTs and Getty images. Let's get Getty images out of the picture, man, and let's have you own your images,
Yeah.
right? So you can help athletes sort of wade through these waters.
Yeah, so with the Frugal Athlete, our main pillars, our main mission is to help athletes make, manage, and multiply their money through financial education and athlete empowerment. My main mantra is, if I can't explain it to somebody in layman's terms, where they can then go on and teach it to somebody, then I shouldn't be involved in it. So, for example, when it comes to crypto, I'm still not in a position where I feel comfortable learning about it. I've done a lot of research. I've done a lot of stuff behind the scenes to learn and immerse myself in it. I still haven't even invested uh, like any money into that space, because I'm still learning. I want to be confident enough to learn and stuff. And that's my approach when it comes to any type of investment. When it comes to these new terms, whether it's NIL, blockchain, crypto, Web 3.0, we help identify people that are in that space, whether it's through our content, whether it's through our resources that we share and provide from trusted outlets, from trusted platforms. But as a business, the Frugal Athlete, our main pillars, our focus, are content, sharing information from athletes, professional athletes, student athletes, stakeholders that help athletes make, manage, and multiply their money, um, curriculums and courses. So we have online courses on our platform, whether it's rookie mistakes, try to avoid the common mistakes that, young athletes makes when it comes to money. We have workshops and speaking engagements where we do, whether it's virtual or in-person events, um, organizations, teams, colleges, high school students, whatever. And then lastly, templates when it comes to like budget templates, saving goal templates, trackers, merch, and stuff like that.
I love it. So important. And, I've spoken to a lot of professional athletes where their agents have brought them into bad deals. And it's not always the agent's fault, but oftentimes it is. So I truly appreciate the work you're doing. I'm going to do this. I'm going to take a quick break to thank Sports Philanthropy Network for powering the podcast. We couldn't do that. Folks, feel free to check out the website, www sportsphilanthropynetwork.org, Sports Philanthropy Network. Thank you so much for building stronger, healthier, and more inclusive communities through sports. I'm honored to be a part of that. Speaking of sports philanthropy, Amobi, can we
Hmm.
switch gears just a little bit and talk about your foundation?
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Tell us a little bit about what you're doing.
Yeah, so the Okugo Foundation, I must admit, it started off as a play on words. I always wanted to do something with Okugo, Okugo. And with the teams that I was been involved in, you always did some community aspect stuff, but I wanted to do something where it wasn't just come in, show my face, sign a couple autographs, and leave. So I wanted to do some, long lasting partnerships and have like some, more impact, especially in the city where I grew up in, the greater Sacramento community. So the Okugo Foundation is all about providing resources, access, and excellence through exposure to underserved communities through athletic programs, through educational and financial programs, and social programs. So whether it's a soccer clinic, to avoid the pay-to-play model, or a financial workshop, with my passion for, personal finance and money management, or just exposing, the community to different social programs, whether it's, field trips, speaking engagements, guest speakers, different things like that. We feel like if you see it, you can achieve it. So excellence through exposure is our mantra, and that's kind of what we're all about with the OKUGO Foundation.
I love it. And because you said that, I am going to put up every kid's sport. So I know that we may have some parents and some kids watching and listening to this who say, wow, I love Mr. Okugo because he understands financial literacy. He understands that money doesn't grow on trees. I'm a single mom with 8 kids. I understand, that it's virtually impossible, regardless of your income status, to put 8 kids on traveling leagues.
Facts.
What every kid's sports does, ladies and gentlemen, children who are watching this podcast, they actually partner with sponsors to cover 100% of registration fees for youth sports for any sport. That includes baton, jazz dancing, ballet,
Wow.
flag football, soccer, you name it. So if you're listening to this podcast, folks, or you're watching the live stream, every kid's sports. If you're a parent who's struggling, you want your kids to play, maybe you want to partner with the work that Amobi's doing through the OKU Foundation, go ahead and Google every kid's sports and find a way to make it work. Your kids deserve the opportunity to play sports, create hope and possibility for them. Don't let finances be the one thing that holds you back.
I love that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, Amobi, you said something that I thought was really important, and it's about serving the underserved, being there, creating sort of this pathway to success. I love what you're doing. Obviously somebody did that for you. You don't
Hmm.
just get to the pro level by sheer talent alone, and great athletes and great business people, we all know we've been mentored. Who was the best coach you ever had?
Oh, that's you putting me on the spot right here. I would say my parents. Do they count? Do they are they considered coaches?
100%. Blessed
Yeah.
be any parent whose child says that about them.
Yeah, so my parents, they were my first coaches. My mom took me to my first game. My dad wasn't able to attend. He was on a work trip, or actually, I think he had to go back to Nigeria because my grandmother or someone in the family had passed. And my mom and my uncle came, and my mom was there cheering me, running down the sideline. And then my dad's been one of my biggest supporters throughout my career. So yeah, my parents, even if it's like tough love, negative encouragement, positive reinforcement. They know how to push my buttons, and they've always been there in my corner.
So let's take that one step further. See, your parents were always there for you.
Hmm.
What is your advice to the single parents, the parents in your Sacramento community that are underserved, that are sort of struggling? Like, you don't understand. I work 10 hours a day. I have to take the bus to work. I don't have extra money. What is, just speak from your heart, Amobi, to the parents who want their children to have these opportunities, but it's just really hard right now because life is hard.
No, yeah, you bring up a great point, and my uh, I understand. Well, I don't understand personally, but I do see it because growing up, I've seen single parents, specifically single mothers, fight tooth and nail to make sure they provided resources for their kids, and some kids that had all the talent in the world, had to sacrifice and, get a job instead of continuing the sport, and they could have made it at a higher level, but because of the circumstances. So, and from my standpoint, I don't want to say outside looking in, kind of take advantage of the community resources that are available. I think if you can do that, there's always good Samaritans within the community that will go out of their way, whether it's carpooling, a parent that has a little bit more time to carpool. Parents sometimes will be able to take a kid in as part of the team. Take advantage. I think one of the biggest things too is, you know, it's a pride thing because you want to be able to be there and support. And sometimes if you have to be at this child's game versus that child's game, like who do you pick? Put your pride aside for the opportunity that your potential child has when it comes to sport or anything. It doesn't have to be sport. It could be music. It could be other extracurricular activities. It could be academics. And at the end of the day, when the child grows up, they're going to realize and understand that you were there as best you could. You did all you can, and they will show their love and admiration for you.
I
Even
love
even through the growing pains of children going through puberty and being independent, they will show their love and admiration and for the sacrifices that you made.
That's great. I appreciate that. The other thing I want to do is I just want to give you a bit of time. I know that you do speaking. I want to give you just a few moments to share your heart, share your wisdom. You know all of the blood, the sweat, the tears, the elbow grease, the equity that went into getting you to an elite level and being able to play for so long. What's your message to the people who are listening or watching Legacy After the Locker Room, looking for their weekly dose of inspiration?
Whatever you're doing, double down. I think yeah, you can never work hard enough. Obviously, you have to have fun with it. You have to have a balanced life. You have to make sure that you're taking care of your recovery and your mental health. But um, if you work on your deficiencies, if you work on your game, you're gonna get rewarded. It may not come the next day, it may not come the next week, it may not come the next month, but over time, those gradual um, those gradual efforts, those gradual habits that you build will definitely uh, will definitely be rewarded in some way, shape, or form.
All right, and I gotta ask, just pure curiosity. You played for a number of teams.
Yeah.
Which team was your favorite?
Oh, you try to get me in trouble again.
No, you
Uh,
won't get in trouble. It's
every
okay, you're
team,
retired.
every team had its pros and cons. I think Philly just being the first team that took their chance on me is always going to have a special place in my heart. But I loved every team that I was on. I loved every community. The fans were amazing, and I was able to take away so many different things from each team that I was on in each community. But Philly, you never forget your first love, right? That's what they say. So I guess we got to say Philly.
Here's a fun fact. Philly is my favorite city in the United States. It truly is the city of
Really?
brotherly love. I
Yeah.
uh
It
I
grows
was
on you. It takes some
it
time to
does. It
build that brotherly love feel.
Yeah, I live in Milwaukee, and people will cross you on the street, they won't even make eye contact. I won a United Nations peacekeepers thing in high school, and part of
Wow.
that was being brought out to the United Nations. I actually took the United Nations to task for not doing enough around the world. And one of the places they sent me to was Philadelphia, and I'll never forget. I walk into like a little store to get a drink or something, and somebody buys me a
Wow.
Yahoo, and says, you're in Philly, you got to have one of these, and carefully opens up the straw, puts it in, buys my drink, and says, welcome to Philly, the city of brotherly love. Enjoy your trip. And I was like,
Love that.
oh my gosh, like
Only
just
very few cities do that.
Exactly. And it's the people in the cities that make the city, right?
Mhm.
So I guess it's important to take just a moment. Let's just recognize and acknowledge this week as we speak about cities, me living in Milwaukee, the tragedy that happened at Pfizer Forum with the Bucks. For my community, I hurt with you. I know people who were there, and that hurts and that's
Mhm.
scary. And also for the people in Buffalo, we see you. You're not alone. I want to just publicly just take that time to lock elbows as a community with brothers and sisters throughout the country, throughout the world. These are the times we live in. Our country is not at war like Ukraine, so taking a moment to just solemnly understand and respect people who
Yeah.
are hurting this week through tragedy. Amobi,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you for that space to be vulnerable. Um, I know that people are watching right now, or they're going to watch as this is out on LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube, or maybe they're just going to hear your and my voices as they listen to it, a podcast that they've streamed through Spotify or something else. You are an inspiring human being.
Oh, thank you.
You are, and you're doing big, important work that is so necessary to amplify money, to build it, to grow it. So necessary right now when the price of gas is crazy alone, right?
Oh my goodness.
It just it there's no end in sight.
Oh.
I looked at blueberries, and a pint of blueberries at Walmart was like 6.50. I said, oh my gosh, wow, it's getting hard to feed kids healthy food. So I think, Moby, that people are going to be listening or watching this, and they're going to say, wow, a Moby, man, that's somebody that I want to work with. That's somebody that I want my children to really get, a financial planner, that I want to work on a financial planner. I want to make sure that my student athletes understand these concepts. So, Amobi, if people want to reach out to you to network for business, we'll separate this up between Amobi, the athlete, the superstar, the verified athlete, and Amobi, the businessman with the heart of that verified superstar athlete. Let's talk business first. How can people get a hold of you?
Now, once again, thank you so much for sharing space with me to share my platform and share what I'm currently up to. If you want to connect with me from a personal from a business standpoint, LinkedIn, Amobi Okugo, or the website www.frugalathlete.com, or personal website www.amobiokugo.com. With that being said, I'm on all socials at Amobi Says or at A Frugal Athlete. Um, Always looking to connect, always looking to collaborate, trying to provide impact, trying to provide value, and make stuff work. So appreciate you giving me space to share that.
I love it. My advice there, based on everything that Amobi just said, is folks, stop being in competition with each other.
Yeah, it's always we can all eat.
We
Rather
can
have
all
10% of a pie than 100% of nothing.
make room at the table for anybody with a strong work ethic and honesty. Folks, just to verify, I put this up if you're watching the live stream, www.afrugalathlete.com. Amobi, I got that right, correct?
Oh, yep, most
Okay,
definitely.
perfect. So if you're listening to the podcast and you had to just stop and pick up your phone so you could type in a note, www.afrugalathlete.com. Amobi, we're just about out of time. I want to just give you 1 minute to thank the people in your life that you need to thank.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Thank you so much. I call it my moral fiber. Whenever I get off course, I always think back to my moral fiber. So, my family and immediate friends and mentors and sponsors, and confidants, everyone that's played a role in my life to allow me to do what I do. It doesn't go unnoticed, and we always eat at our table. So it's what it's all about.
Thank you so much, folks. My name is Kayla Bradham. I'm here tonight with Major League Soccer alumni Amobi Okugo, reminding you to live your legacy. Thanks, Amobi.
No, thank you so much.